For the first time ever in Old Gays, New Gays history, we are going to be actually taking topics off of our audience. How do you meet other queer people today?
The one thing I would say, just as a caveat, guys, you could be catfish, and it might be somebody who's gay baiting you.
Advice on steps to creating a career. Actually, be interesting to hear your careers as well.
Frank was in finance, and I'm an influencer.
How long should I wait for sex when meeting someone new? When we first met, actually, let's take it back to my ex.
Oh.
It is hookup culture.
When you hook up for the sake of hookup, that behavior is addictive. You find yourself at 40 and 50 still doing the same thing.
What should I do if my parents accept gay queer people but still think I'm in denial for being a lesbian?
I find this is a super hard thing.
Hey guys, I'm Nick.
And I'm Ant.
And we're the New Gays.
I'm Frank.
I'm Dan.
And we're the Old Gays.
This is the podcast where we compare all things gay through the lenses of two generations of LGBT couples.
And today's topic, well, actually I should say topics, because...
Yeah. Ooh, send pics? Sorry. Sorry.
Maybe later. So for the first time ever in Old Gays, New Gays history, we are going to be actually taking the topics off of our audience, just so you guys know what you're kind of getting forward to. So there's going to be talks about how long to wait for sex, how to meet boyfriends, queer friends in general, creating a career, and as well acceptance with gay, queer, with parents, and some more. So let's get into it, guys. I think I should start first. And my question that I chose, so actually Ant and I get this quite often, so it's why I chose this question. But basically, it's how do you meet other queer people today? So this is for friends, for relationship, to find a boyfriend, but in the queer community in particular.
I find this is a super hard thing compared to our generation to yours, because you guys used to meet in person, no? We don't meet in person anymore.
Well, I think it's a different thing. I think meeting genuine friends is hard in general.
Yeah.
I think going to a group of place where a bunch of gays are may have been easier for us because you had to go to gay clubs to meet people, and they were all there, right? But that doesn't mean you walked away with friends. Like,
well, this is the
gays
thing.
were cold, man. There were a lot of gays standing in the corner waiting for people to talk to them.
And I think there's a lot more options for us today. Like, just in terms of like, because I was going to just state the obvious and say, well, listen, like, so with both dating and friends, not that we have almost the same exact amount of options as straight people, but we're almost there now. Like, I mean, we have most dating apps, so like Bumble, Tinder, well, Grindr is an obvious one, but you know, they have the queer side as well now. So they have for bis, for lesbians, for gays. So I think the obvious like first answer is, you know, if you want to meet a boyfriend or meet someone that's also interested in dating, go on dating apps. I mean, there, you know, people are going to be interested in.
But what about it? How do you differentiate that between like hookups, sex, or boyfriend material if you just want a friend?
Grindr is hookups. If you want to date somebody, go on Tinder, Bumble. Our friend
Hinge.
I think Hinge do.
My brother's on.
Oh. Does it work? Is it working out for him?
You guys need to stop outing your family and friends on this podcast.
But yeah, so I find that with dating apps, that's a really easy way to do it. But now on a more friend level, because these dating apps, I mean, I've seen profiles on there that people are like, I don't want to date, I just want to make some queer friends, which, you know, works, I guess, sometimes, but...
Does it? I mean, can you really make friends from one of these apps?
This is my thing. Like, if people are on there to find either a hookup or a boyfriend. So my second option to find queer friends is just to use social media. So like, especially Facebook, I swear, if you go like in any town in the world, like look up Minneapolis queers on Facebook, there will be a community for that city, right? So I find that most cities now, especially on Facebook, will have communities set up, and you get to meet local people that are queer in your town, and they do like meetups and stuff like that in the park. So there's a lot of ways, I think, with social media now to meet queer people.
You also meet people through like the social networks when you go out and you're part of events, or you go to parties, or you're going to dinner parties and all that sort of stuff.
Well,
there's friends.
Yeah, and that's a physical aspect. And I think a lot of people, you know, especially in our generation, what they're scared of is like they don't, because we're so used to having our phones and being behind a screen that we actually prefer to meet people through like an account first.
Is that right?
Then it's quite scary just for us, I would say, to randomly meet new people and go up to them in like bars or clubs or restaurants.
I feel it's a confidence issue as well. But I want to speak to the younger generation that might not be able to go out to dinners and bars and meet people. What are they meant to do? How do they meet new people?
Well, so like I said,
social
Facebook
media,
was, for the groups is really good. But then there's like all these other apps like, I mean, I don't want to like shout them out, but like there's like different apps where people can like meet friends. I mean, I find it's really easy, but you do have to have that first step and put yourself out there. Create these profiles of yourself and engage in comment section. So like our comment section, we've seen people become friends on there,
especially on the premieres of the podcast.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Where are you from?"
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm from England." "How old are you?" "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm 40." And it's just really nice to see our podcast as like a mini group of people getting together, and that's a nice community.
Do you find when you do meet people on social media and then you actually meet them in person that oftentimes is it more often that it's similar or more often that
what
it's
the
not
best
similar?
compliment Ant and I ever get at events is, "Oh my god, you're just like you are on social media," which I'm like, "Yeah, shouldn't we be?" And they're like, "Well, no, like some people are so fucking rude off the social media." So yeah, well, especially at social media events, like, we see a lot of people that were like, "Oh, is that really you? Because you come off so quirky and funny on your TikToks, but you're a bitch in real life." Like, sorry, but
who's that referring to?
should we do that? I'm done exposing people. I had a bit of a scandal last week. Not that direct.
No
But
more.
honestly, that's a valid point because you get so many catfishes in the industry and just through social media. We personally have never used Facetune or edited our face. It's just like, oh, we'll brighten it up a little bit and we'll add a bit of saturation.
The one thing I would say, just as a caveat, guys, just because I have to play dad here and put a safety mark on this, you could be catfish, and it might be somebody who's gay baiting you and is going to hurt you, right?
Yes.
So if you're going to meet or hook up with somebody from social media, bring somebody with you, go to a public place, don't just randomly meet people without some safety mechanism in place if you don't know who they are.
Especially if you're under 18.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a great point. Definitely, I think a nice way of doing that, like you said, is to meet in public spaces or to maybe FaceTime them have a phone call with them before you meet them. Don't go for the blank profiles.
Yes.
We've all, no,
You know what? There's online communities. You don't have to meet up in person. It can be long distance friendships through gaming activities. And I had so many Minecraft friends growing up. Used to play Minecraft and we had Minecraft communities. Yes, you can call that sad, but I'm proud.
But I think they weren't gay though, were they? Did you have a gay Minecraft?
No, they were not gay.
I bet there is a gay Minecraft.
I bet there is a community. Like, go on Facebook right now. Go gays on Minecraft.
Yeah.
Gays for Minecraft.
There's gonna be a
It'll be a
group
Rainbow
there
City
with 1,000 people. Yeah.
There's going to be two
Build that
people in that
Rainbow City.
community.
Yeah, it's gonna be Ant and somebody else on there. Yeah. But yeah, so I think to end up on this question, there are a lot of ways to make friends, especially today, and to meet people for relationship reasons. But I think overall, just be safe and just put yourself out there on, but not like fully out there, but just put yourself out there, get out of your comfort zone, go meet people that are part of your community, and
I would agree.
Okay, next question, Buffoni.
All right.
Oh no.
No, that's true. Next question. So we got question number 2 from our audience.
Yes. So the question goes like this. This is interesting. Advice on steps to creating a career. Advice for younger people on how to make it to the top to be financially stable or financially successful.
Look at us business podcast.
I know. We're covering the spectrum of advice.
Can I just say there's not anyone better but you two to answer this question?
No, but actually be interesting to hear your careers as well.
Nick's been working for 10 years. You've almost got the length.
Every new wrinkle on my face is a year I was working. So is that about 10?
Girl, stop. You're talking to the wrong audience for that comment.
Fine, let's get
He
into
barely
the
looks 10, for goodness sake.
Okay, let's not go there. All right,
Frank.
sorry, Frank, go ahead.
Career, yeah. So it kind of grew organically. I don't think I really planned my career. It kind of sort of grew organically. I went to uni, and then I was good at math, so I sort of started computer science, and then from computer science, I've noticed that all the good jobs were going to these accounting students that would have nice suits on, all sort of stuff. So I said, I won't that.
You just found them looking hot.
So I stopped at computer science and I did accounting. I finished accounting and then got into one of the big financial firms. So that's where my career started. And I made my way up to sort of partner eventually after sort of a number of years. I think for me, in terms of career, what you need to think about is, especially in these firms, it's a lot of hours and a lot of time. So you have to be committed to investing time, which I think is really important. You have to listen to feedback. I know sometimes it's a little bit difficult, especially for the younger generation, I think, in terms of kind of, getting feedback and developing and all sort of stuff. They are really good programs and a lot of good mentors in these firms and all sort of stuff. Certainly I benefited from that as well. So listen to feedback and develop as you're progressing your career. I did have an appetite and I was quite determined to drive my career. So I had that passion and that hunger, I think, for my career. And I think for me, where that stems a little bit is sort of growing up gay, you always feel sort of a level of shame or a level of you're less than the others. And so that really gave me that hunger to be successful in my career so I can prove to my parents, prove to my family, prove to my friends that even though whilst I'm gay, I am very successful at this. So I think that's where a lot of my drive sort of came from in terms of driving my career. And I was good at spotting opportunities.
Good.
As you're going through your career, things change. There's different opportunities that come by and all sort of stuff. So I was quite good at listening, tapping into that and seeing what's out there to make sure that I drive my career and kind of take up sort of opportunities as it was going along.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Like, while you were saying that, I did find some similarities in my career, even though it's completely different. Like, Frank was in finance, and I'm an influencer. But that being said, it is about
influencer these days.
Well, now you're an influencer, so look at us. Look at us.
I thought you could retire.
No, babe, not happening. Sorry.
Stressful career in finance.
10 more years. 10 more years.
Exactly.
So similar to Frank, I think it's about drive. When you were talking about drive, I mean, that's so important. So if you're not like passionate in whatever you do, you won't make it very far because you have to have that hunger and the drive for what you do.
Absolutely.
So whether that's finance, construction, whatever, you have to have, that kind of motivation, but as well passion for it. Yeah,
I think you have to give things a chance. Sometimes you're not sure if it's something that you're going to like, but I think, especially as you're younger, I think you have an opportunity to give it a go and give it a chance.
Yes.
And oftentimes you'll find naturally that actually you may not have thought that you like this, but actually you do because you have the proper coaching, the mentoring, and all sort of stuff through your career. So I think, giving it a chance and giving it a go, I think it's important.
Give it a lot of things a chance, especially while you're young, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a new thing happening in the world today, especially in the UK, and it might be happening in the US, where there's an emphasis on apprenticeships and not needing to go directly to college to figure out what you want to do. And some of these really big firms that have fantastic careers and small firms and agencies that have good careers are willing to take you on in an apprenticeship to kind of train you and teach you what it is. So definitely reach out to the companies that you're interested in and see if they have those kind of programs, because they are starting to. I think there's a lot more today than there ever was.
They are, and certainly the firm that I worked with, we worked with a lot of universities and colleges and all sort of stuff, and we worked a lot with the apprentice programs, and they were fantastic. You get young talent that is really eager to learn, and they develop their careers through the sort of firm, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's great.
Yeah,
programs.
I think it's great that you mentioned that, Dan, because I think it's what I kind of tell my friends back home. So if they want to get into marketing or whatever, I say, guys, like if you guys were to go on Indeed today, look at how many people want apprentices / what are they called? Interns. Yeah. Like those jobs are so easy to get, and in whatever industry you want to be in, there's usually a spot available for it. So just go for it. Yes, the pay might not be amazing, but that's how you start building your way up in the career, right?
And there's remote work, remote jobs as well. So if you are from that small town, you can work in the big city for the big corporations. You could work internationally. I don't consult me about international laws, but but you can work for anyone you want. And there's traditional routes and there's untraditional routes. You guys took a very traditional route, being corporate world and 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Nick has taken an untraditional route, and I think there are just multiple ways in today's generation to earn a career. And I would say the biggest impact for us recently has been something that you just said, getting a mentor. And I feel like if you have a mentor, you can expedite your growth in certain industries, and you can have direction and alignment to your goals and just kind of seek out advice. Whereas if you're navigating things alone, you might go through periods of down moments, feeling uninspired, and it's really those mentors that can uplift you and actually realize your passion.
Yeah, because I find you can't underestimate the input that a mentor has. I've been quite fortunate to have, great, partners that led different, service lines and all that sort of stuff that were my mentors. Absolutely fantastic. They really do help shape and drive your career and help you through the difficult times, because it is going to be difficult times, difficult moments in your career that you have to sort of work through. And those mentors and those coaches are so important in a career.
Yeah, and to back off on that, I think it's who you know a lot of the time and what you've done. So similar to our last question, put yourself out there.
Yeah.
If there's, a corporate, event, or if there's something, don't say no. Go to it. Meet people.
Yes.
Meet people in the office. Make friends. Because it is who you know, I think, at the end of the day.
Saying yes to everything, is
saying
hands
yes,
down,
yeah.
even when you're
That's
so
good
tired
advice. Say
and,
yes.
and
Yeah,
you don't want to do it, say yes, because when you get to that event, the energy in the event inspires you. You meet new people,
Exactly.
unlocks new opportunities. Whereas if you just said no, you're kind of staying in your own bubble and you're limiting your growth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Should we just start a business podcast?
Yeah. We should do a business episode, actually. 'cause
No more
there's a lot to
pride.
learn.
No more gays. Sorry.
You could definitely do a masterclass in networking. I've seen you, kid. You know how to go straight into every conversation.
Are you telling
my-
him you just won't shut up?
You talk a lot, Nick. Well, talking about talking a lot. Who's next?
How rude.
What's your question?
I do not talk a lot, thank you very much. I like to get involved and be yes.
Oh, nice haircut.
Thank you. Anyway, sorry.
For the listeners, we both got haircuts. Sorry.
Third question from the audience is a spicy one. How long should I wait for sex when meeting someone new?
Ooh.
And apparently I'm
Interesting.
best suited to answer this question, so here we go.
No, I think you are, but because of what you're gonna say. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So when we first met, actually let's take it back to my ex.
Oh,
Yeah.
messy.
Okay, let's go.
Ooh.
Let's go there.
Saucy.
We didn't do it. I shied away. I was too nervous when it got to maybe it happening, and I just said no. And that was many, many weeks into knowing this person and seeing each other. So I'm one, especially if I'm not confident with my sexuality at the time, to take it nice and slowly. And I would say, even in my experience now, being confident in my sexuality, I would still say to take it slowly is the best method. When Nick and I met, we didn't do anything for the first 3 months. And we'd seen each other time after time after time. And I would always say, based on my experience, taking it slowly, getting to know the individual before you jump into sex is the best way to get to know them. Because I feel like once you do it and you have sex or have sexy time. Sorry, he told me
for
not
the
to mention
PR.
sex.
Well, I was just thinking for like the clips in case the socials don't like sex. Go sexy time.
So I guess I completely forgot and I've said sex, but from now on
Too
I'm going to
late.
say sexy time. Okay, so before
Before
you
you
have
make love.
before
Oh,
you
yeah,
yeah,
make love.
that's a good one.
That's good.
Okay,
That's a nice one.
before you make love. Now I forgot what I was going to say. God.
Well, if I can back off on that, so I think people are going to be like, wait, 3 months? That's insane. So have in mind we were long distance, so I think that should be. And before we did it, I think we saw each other maybe once or twice for like a week span. People are still shocked by that, the fact that we're gay and didn't hook up within the first even 3 weeks, right? So
Yeah.
our point was like, in gay culture especially, it's so prominent to want to hook up on the first meet. But actually for us, the reason we, I think, worked out in a way is because we took the time to know each other, make sure we get along more than just on a sexual level. And yeah, so I think that's, so don't wait 3 months,
Yeah.
but get to know your partner.
At least 3,
Go on
4 times.
3-4 dates and then see. And then if you like them as a person, then have sex.
Because we have a friend. I'm not going to name him on this podcast, but he's one of our good friends. Okay.
Oh my God, not
And-
again. Getting
Boy.
PTSD.
Boy, it does seem like it is hookup culture.
Oh, he won't.
And I feel like they are looking for a boyfriend as well. And I feel like because they're so engulfed in hookup culture. It's always the next person, and they're getting around. They're just missing maybe that real sparking connection that may lead to having a boyfriend eventually.
Well,
Go ahead. That is addictive. That behavior, and it's not. Sometimes it's actually not good, because when people can do what they want at the end of the day, but when you hook up for the sake of hookup to get lots of sexy time, that behavior is addictive, and you find yourself at 40. You find yourself at 40 and 50 and 60 still doing the same thing.
Oh, that's bad.
And then complaining about I don't have a long-term relationship, that sort of stuff. So I think it needs to be balanced a little bit. And I agree with you. I think it's different for different people, but I think when the time is right, especially when it's not a hookup and you fall in love with somebody. There's genuine passion and love for somebody. That stuff comes in when the time is right. I think it doesn't have to be done now. It's done whenever the time is right.
I just need to quickly say something to the audience and listeners out there. I just mentioned that it's bad if you're 40 and you've gone through hookup culture and you're struggling to make the connection. I just want to reiterate the fact that everyone is different. Definitely. And actually, some people don't want a long-term relationship. They're completely content with themselves hooking up with people. And I think the word, when I just mentioned it's bad, I think that's just maybe my perspective, because I'm in a relationship.
It's not what you want.
And it's not personally what I want, but there's people out there and it's totally what they want, and fair enough.
Look, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say how long to wait will vary not only by the individual, but sometimes in your own life. Like you may be in a period of your life where you just want hookups, and you then maybe in a period of your life where you want a relationship, and you might approach it differently because you want a different outcome. So you wait a little bit longer. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this. I think the thing to do is to listen to your intuitive side and understand what it is you're looking for out of it. If you are just looking for a hookup, then you're going to get a hookup. If you want a relationship, try different things to see how to get that relationship. Frank and I didn't sleep. We didn't have sexy time. That sounds so wrong.
Sorry, guys. I regret saying that now.
Come on, that's the worst way.
We waited as well. Not. I don't know that we waited as long as you guys, but
3 months.
Yeah, but and we waited in our late 30s, and we weren't each other's first, a partner.
Yeah.
And so that was just at that period in our life, that particular relationship, the way we met and the way we experienced each other in the beginning, we did decide to wait and to see what, and to develop a friendship and first.
Yeah.
And that worked really well for us.
And it seems that we've both done the same thing, and we've both been in long-term relationships. Yeah. But I think one thing to finish off that I will say is, don't let your partner pressure you as well. Like, if you're not ready for, I'm going to say, guys, sexy time. If you're not ready, don't let your partner pressure you.
Definitely.
Yeah, don't just do it when, like Dan said, when your body clock is ready for it and your gut feels it's right, then do it. So now it's Dan's turn for his question that he chose.
Yeah, so thank you for whoever wrote this, because I think it's a really interesting question. What should I do if my parents accept gay, queer people, but still think I'm in denial for being a lesbian? Ooh. The first thing I'd say is congratulations, and wow, we're really proud of the fact that you were strong enough to come out to your parents. I mean, that is an amazing thing to be able to do. Even if your parents, as you're saying this, are friendly, you think they are friendly to the gay community, it's still hard. I think sometimes you have to let your parents take their own journey in your gay coming out. And it can't always be the same. You might not always have the same timing. Some parents are right there with you and they're happy. Some parents need some time to adjust, to understand what's actually going on. As long as you feel safe and you're happy, I'd say, now you've done it. You've come out to your parents. Go live your lesbian life and build your friendships and build your relationships. And little bit by little bit, bring your family into that and let your parents see what lesbianism really is. Let them see that this is the real you and how you are in love. Because I think, we knew we were gay from a young age, right? Our parents may not know that. And so when we come out to our parents, we've had years of thinking about it and knowing it. So we kind of know who we are. Our parents may have thought of us very, very differently for a very long time. So to just kind of suddenly switch us, and think, okay, this is a different person than I thought was in my house, could be challenging for them. And I say give them their time that they need as well. So that would be my advice.
That's a really,
I think that's powerful, yeah.
Yeah, great way of saying it. And I think, for my personal experience, the same thing happened. Like, my parents both had gay cousins on their side, which was great for them. So they knew what gay was. They've never had issues with gay people ever. But when I came out as bi, now that was confusing, right? So how I feel like I didn't get that instant support over time of them understanding what bi is. Actually, being bi is a thing. It's not just like, oh, you're one or the other.
Yeah.
They understood that. And actually, my dad went from like not understanding it when I first came out to, so many months later, he's on my channel on YouTube preaching to parents, going, "Guys, bi is normal. It is a thing." Blah blah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd say give your parents time. I just think, that's a great way of saying it.
I agree. So give your parents time, but it's also important that you get acceptance from your parents eventually. So I think it's important that whilst you give your parents time, that the topic is always discussed with your parents, and there's questions and there's communication, so that the parents do get to the point that actually they accept it, they understand why, and then the relationship is cemented and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's important to continue the discussion on that and the conversation, because I think for me certainly it was important that when I told my parents that they accepted me, because then you can sort of move on from that.
Yeah.
So I think if it kind of hangs there and it's never really resolved, or the parents are not fully accepting, then it kind of like leaves you a little bit in a funny place.
I think everybody's going to go through their own journey, and parents including that. And I think sometimes we want our parents to be different, just like they want us to be different. And it's a two-way street, right? You're coming at each other with surprises, and you have to let people adjust to those sometimes. Yeah. If you're in a dangerous situation or your parents throw you out, that's a whole nother podcast. You know what I mean? And seek support and help if that happens.
In this situation with her parents accepted and is an ally to the LGBT community. It's just the barrier between the values in her family and what she thinks her daughter should be doing. And I feel there's a separation there that the parent needs to really focus on actually what's best and what makes your child happy and what is natural to them. And I think the biggest thing you just said is almost don't tell them to accept you.
Just
show
be a lesbian
them
around them.
Show them.
Be a lesbian,
Show them your life. And if she is just coming out, she doesn't have a lesbian life yet, other than in her own mind, then that's what you do. You go out, you build your life, right? You find your friends, you find your network, you find your relationships, and definitely expose your parents to it as much as you can, as much as they're willing to, because that's where I think true acceptance comes in. And I know for sure your parents, because they knew me before you came out, even though you came out and told them that we were together. I think they kind of knew. Yeah. But I do think nothing changed while I was in the house, right? There wasn't like a suddenly, and so I think it helped that you had exposed them to part of your life, because they knew me and they knew I was safe and they knew that I liked their son. And so it was easier, I think, for them to say, okay, he's in a relationship with somebody that we understand and we know.
I also think it's interesting that some parents, like this individual now, some parents are good with the gay community, but it's kind of different when it comes to their kids.
I think it happens often.
It does happen often. I completely agree. And the parents need to sort of accept that, and sometimes I think it's a reflection on them, whatever that means. But I think you would hope eventually that they get there with their kids as well. Because I think for some parents it just seems to be difficult to sort of accept.
They just perceive their child growing up and having a traditional relationship. And the moment a spanner is thrown in the works, and that's not the true path that the kid wants to take, suddenly it's like, I just had all these things envisioned, and it's just hard for them, I guess, to take a step
But then again,
back.
it is a curveball for them, because like Dan said, they've been thinking this for their whole life, but for the parents, it is a curveball in a certain way. So, just give them time, I think.
I do think also, just to kind of, on this one topic, we're four gay guys talking about the question came from a lesbian, and there's a lot of similarities, but I think there are some differences as well, because I think society tends to doubt lesbians more than they doubt gays. I don't know if it's because they're not as threatening to the patriarchy, therefore
masculinity, right?
But I feel for them, because I do think the first reaction some people have is this just a phase? Are you sure you're a lesbian? And I don't know why that is in society, but I think I know enough lesbians now in my wisdom to know that it's a real thing, just like lesbianism and gay are real things. But what I would say is expose your parents to the lifestyle you're creating in a safe, healthy way, and let them see what lesbianism is for you and who you are in it.
Perfect. Great way of saying that, actually. So I think we do have time for our combined question. So we all had our individuals, but then there was one that we all agreed I think would be a fun topic to talk about.
Oh, did we?
So
I don't know. This is
sorry,
news to
no,
me.
I chose it and I just said, guys, go with it. Sorry.
Of course, we have time
did,
for your
I'm kidding,
question.
kidding.
But I thought it was interesting because I think we touched on this very slightly on one of our podcasts. But anywho's, the question is, how do you deal with one of you having a super high sex drive and the other one of you not in a relationship? So this could be straight, gay, doesn't matter, right? So what do you do?
Well, there's things in your relationship that are altering one's sex drive, and one's increased because things in their relationship are going really, really well, and they just want to do it all the time. The connection's there. On the opposing side, there may have been a disconnect somewhere, and they're just naturally not feeling their sex drive towards you. Maybe it stresses in their life. There's so many reasons, right?
I don't know. I was going to say, so, I think also naturally some people are super horny and others aren't, right? Even like in our relationship, I feel like there's definitely one of us, not that like one of us has no sex drive, but
That's right.
Well, it's a podcast, babe. So, but there is a slight difference. Even you can, I think, admit that. Like someone has a higher sex drive.
But I think every couple has that.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
think any two human beings are in the perfect wavelength to each other the whole time.
You're a horny bitch, if that's what you say.
We
How
went past
dare
sexy time
my
there.
mom
Geez.
listen to this podcast? Sexy time.
And you
Bring that back.
You go through cycles. You go through cycles. Some periods in your life, you're just very charged, and other periods you're just not. And sometimes it coincides with your partner, and sometimes it doesn't. And it's just the reality of things. I think the notion that you have a sex drive, both of you have it for the rest of your lives, I think is just not reality.
I think I think one thing I think it is a unique thing you discover in a relationship, right? I think if you're hooking up all the time, you're just having sex, so you don't really realize what the two different patterns are going to be when you're together. I think there's a lot of things you have to learn how to navigate in relationships. Money, sex, if you have children. I mean, all these things are things that change throughout your life, and you change, and the way you react to them changes. And sex is definitely one of them. And you're not going to be the same people you were, 20, 30 years later. And you're going to have different cycles and pressures and things that are going to change. I think the thing to remember is to always try to communicate and come back to a common place as best you can. Don't just accept or sit in, okay, you want it more, I don't, because that can create a lot of barriers and power struggles and anger and cheating and stuff, right? So you can resolve it, and neither of you may be 100% happy, but you could both be very happy by coming to kind of some mutual place where you meet each other's needs. And I think you're going to always have to do that in a relationship, especially the longer it goes on. You're going to have to meet each other's needs, and you're going to have to do it in new ways. And part of that is compromising. So don't, as much as you may not be horny or you may be super horny, remember you can find the space and the patience to meet in the middle. I think the only other piece of advice I throw on that as well is if somebody is really supercharged and somebody's not, find out how to get that not person charged, right? Don't just say, I want sex and you're not doing it. Let's sit down. Let's have sex. Sexy time. And, say if one person likes to be romanced, if one person likes, to watch a movie or to have a dinner or a date before they do it, find out what brings them to the point of wanting to be, in bed with you. Don't just focus on the sex. Because so much of sex in a relationship has to do with all the layers of things that are happening during the day, during the week, during the month, and you have to coordinate all that stuff and bring it back.
This is my point.
That's a really good
I was literally like, as you were saying that, you're like, oh my God, yes. This is everything I'm thinking right now. Because there's so much more than just sex in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
There's like how many times do you say I love you to your partner?
Yeah.
If you're never saying I love you, making them coffee in the morning, it's these small things. You said this, but they lead to good sex.
Yeah, they do.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing them, how can you expect to always be in the mood with the other person? Because these are the things that are building that bond and love that lead to good sex.
And to be realistic about, like we were saying before, to be realistic about the challenges in a relationship, you know, because things do change and you do get affected by whether it's your job or your stress or your health or your family or your finances, whatever the case is. And you're going to go through bumpy times. And it can be quite challenging sometimes to just say, well, I'm going to do this, let's try that. And you have both have to be very open and honest about conversations around that to be able to move forward around that.
I'm sure a lot of couples go through this, but it's just about guys and, ask, like talk to your partners about what's happening. And, sometimes it does just mean spicing things up. Like sometimes people's driver is down because they want to try new things. And so, have that conversation and, yeah.
What you on about, like threesomes?
Going back on that first
we've
topic.
done that one, yeah.
We're having a lot of podcasts here.
Oh yeah, sometimes I forget I'm on a podcast and not just like in a general conversation. What are you on about with that though? Give examples to those out there. So are you on about a threesome, or are you more so on about like change the position top to bottom? Maybe you can try being a bottom.
What I liked about, just to kind of maybe tie very quickly back to the first podcast, is your friends that one of them they're both whatever tops and they needed to bring someone in and it worked really well for them, and that's how their sex life works now, and that's fine, but they have the lovey together. There's a lot of people like that's how they work, and so if that's how it works, like but how that, again, it's just about going back to have that conversation. Make sure you're both mutually agreeing to it.
Yeah. Wow. Guys, I think, are we out of questions?
Well, we have so many questions, but should we do another episode? Like, let us know in the comments or DM us.
Yeah,
let us know if you guys want more episodes like this. I
Well-
think it's just nice because it gets very multiple topics across.
Let's have this be the comment section, especially on YouTube. So on this episode, wherever you're watching, head to the YouTube video of this episode and drop a comment. And it's going to be a question that we answer in a future episode, maybe in a couple more podcasts. And, we're going to go in this comment section. It's going to be the place we look for die-hard questions that you want answered on this podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And without further ado, thank you all so much for watching. If you are enjoying this podcast, don't forget to rate it a 5-star. It is still Pride Month when we're recording this, even though when it's uploaded, it's no longer Pride Month.
Give the gays one last boost before Pride Month ends.
Guys, thanks to you all gays for joining us. We'll see you in the next one.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.